There we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. So my name is Jenna Schwannard, Marketing Executive at PCA, and I first want to thank you for joining us. And as we continue to let people join, I just want to get started with some housekeeping items. So please note this webinar will be recorded. It will be sent to you via email after the event, but you can also access it via the Pca Technology Group LinkedIn company page at any time as well. We do have just 30 minutes of your time today, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our topic, which is creating a cybersecurity culture. We have some great speakers for you today, including Jason Covelli, Account Executive at PCA, and Joanna Huisman, Senior Vice President of Strategic Insights and Research. So if you have any questions at any point throughout this webinar, please submit it in the chat window, and we'll make sure to get to that. And if you haven't already, please mute your line upon joining as well. But with that, I'll hand it off to Jason from PCA.
Well, thank you, Jenna. And as we're still admitting people here, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining as well today. So why PCA Technology Group? This is just going to be, quick overview of, why you would want to interact or, consider PCA as your IT partner. For me, coming, out of, the Buffalo, Western New York area, the one thing that I really like about PCA and why I think you should invest in us is, the owners are really invested in the company here. We're interacting with clients every day. They're relationship managers and they're directly involved in the day-to-day experience. And that, speaks to the 30+ years of experience that, the team has here, providing these services. Also, when you partner with PCA, you're able to control your costs, and then you're also able to focus on running your business and not the technology that runs your business. So we take on that risk, giving you peace of mind, that comes with, knowing the systems that, are involved in your day-to-day IT operations, and we're protecting you 24/7, 365. And, just out there as an IT consultant, creating that roadmap for a right-sized solution to keep you safe, secure, and up and running. Next slide. Okay, and now we're going to talk about the main topic here. We're going to talk about KnowBe4. Why would we partner with KnowBe4? Outside of what is sitting there in front of you that you can read, I personally think that this is a great, tool in order to create what we're going to talk about throughout the webinar, is creating a human firewall. Through social engineering, that's one of the easiest ways and pretty much the main way that hackers are able to get into your systems, stay in there, understand, and, encrypt any files or, just get, any of that sensitive information on you, not only you, but also your customers. So, it's a great tool to create that human firewall, give all your employees that understanding of, what they should click on, what they shouldn't click on, and, really how to just keep your business safe at the end of the day. So with that, speaking of the 30 years that, PCA has in the technology industry here, Joanna let me know that she's done over 33 of these webinars as to date. So she's really the expert that we want to connect with here. So I am going to pass this over to Joanna, who is the SVP of Strategic Insights and Research over at KnowBe4.
Great. Thank you so much. It's certainly a pleasure to be here with all of you. My name is Joanna Heisman, and I am with KnowBe4. And I've done probably about 33 of these particular presentations just through the month of October and the beginning of November. It's something that we at KnowBe4 take a lot of pride in. We have a lot of experts on our staff that are available to do presentations just like this to your own staffs. So let's start off by talking about, what's that moment when you ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? I think over the course of the last 18 to 24 months, many of us would probably say that, the global pandemic that's been at hand, certainly poses a case for something that could be categorized as something that's the worst that could happen, right? So there's a lot of loss, whether it was in life, whether it was in business, it was a challenging, and it still remains to be a challenging time for many of us. But if you're a cyber criminal, things couldn't get better, right? So the global pandemic like this is like Christmas for them. And so let me explain, right? And so cyber criminals are looking for access points into your personal and your professional lives. And if they can get an access point, that's one topic. So the topic is a global pandemic, but from that one topic, generate many, many different emails that's going to strike your engagement and your attention. That's just icing on the cake. So for example, on the beginning of the pandemic, and a phishing email could have had a subject line that said, find out what the infection rate is in your state. Then it could have moved to compare your infection rate in your state to other states. Fast forward, it could be find out where to get vaccinations in your area, right? And so under this one topic, it's changed so many times and it's kept our interest. And so for a cyber criminal, that's great, right? And so it's something that we keep re-engaging in. It's something that we keep ensuring that it keeps it alive for these cyber criminals. So what we're going to take a look at today is the threat landscape, what that looks like. We're going to take a look at phishing and what that currently looks like across industries, and then talk about how you can better secure not only your personal space, but your professional one as well, because everything you learn through cybersecurity awareness and training is 100% transferable to your personal life, your friends, family, and loved ones that mean the most to you. And so if you discover that burglaries were happening in your neighborhood, what would you do to protect your home? Probably an alarm system, maybe some cameras, a guard dog. But what happened if you discover that cyber criminals were stealing data from organizations that felt and looked like you? What would you do to protect your organization? Well, the threat landscape is all of us, right? So cyber criminals don't discriminate. They go after every age group, every race, every nationality. There is no one that is off limits to these cyber criminals. They're going after your kids through the gaming software. They're going after through your elderly parents through phishing attacks, the voicemail phishing, where they could potentially call and say someone in your family needs help and you need to pay this amount of money, and we will ensure that they don't get harmed. It's going through text messages, right, in the form of, confirm your doctor's appointment here. And it's all the time. They don't take a holiday. There's no vacation. There's no downtime, and it's everywhere, right? So you could be sitting at a cafe. You could be sitting at a Starbucks, and your friend's running late to meet up with you, and you decide, I'm going to jump on Starbucks secure Wi-Fi and catch up on either social media or catch up on email, and you jump on not knowing that across the cafe is someone who just created a Starbucks secure Wi-Fi with the number 1 after it, and you've now jumped on that Wi-Fi, and no, it's not secure, right? So it's in all contexts of life, it's all around you. And I'm not saying this is fear for fun, right? But what I'm trying to make sure that you understand is that this is not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse, and it has gotten worse. Cybercrime is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, right? And a lot of these cyber criminal organizations are very sophisticated. Some of them even have customer service departments to make sure when you pay the ransomware that you don't have any difficulty in doing that, right? So you're going from your kids sitting in their grandmother's basement in Russia that's trying to hack, all the way up to these really, sophisticated organizations like an REvil, and others that we'll talk about a little later on. So if you've never looked at this report, Verizon has a data breach investigations report, and it's a good one. I would go grab it if I were you. And what they're sharing is that 85% of all security incidents involve a human element. So you could have the best technology, but technology isn't enough. Technology is a critical piece of it, but it's just not enough, because whenever you have a human being that could at any second make a decision, if they're distracted or just lazy or just not paying attention, then that could, send you off to the races pretty quickly. So from just a phishing benchmark perspective, we at KnowBe4 are very fortunate because we've got the largest customer base in security awareness and training, and therefore we're able to do a lot of really good analysis. We've got data scientists on staff, and the analysis that we do helps us provide this phishing by industry benchmark report. And we look at, all of those different, 15.5 million security tests, 6.6 million users, a fraction of our customer base at 23,500 across small, medium, large businesses in those 19 industries. And what we're looking at is, what are the top 3 in small, medium, and large that are targeted every year? And so this year, here are the winners, quote unquote, right? Healthcare and pharmaceutical, was in all 3 categories last year. Education, not-for-profit. So those 3, healthcare, pharma, ed, and not-for-profit, are just known to traditionally have outdated systems, right? Easily hacked. We're seeing energy and utilities, in a medium and large capacity. It's interesting from an insurance and banking perspective, 2 highly regulated industries that, have been at this for a while. And, we didn't see rates like this, for, quite a while in financial services, insurance, and banking. But what we're really looking at is within your industry, if your company does nothing, right? So if you do nothing, no security awareness and training, no phishing simulated attacks, no communication to your employees, what's the phish-prone percentage? That is, what is the probability that someone within your industry, within your organization, will have to click on something that's suspect? And so if we just look at, let's say, technology, which is a second to last, right? So in small technology companies, you're looking at 27% of your employee population that could click on something suspicious. In the medium size, it's at 30%, and in the large, it's almost 35%. That's way too many. So that means that when cyber criminals cast a net over your organization, that if you're a large tech company, almost 35% of your employees, it's probable that they would click on something just because they just don't know, right? But let's say you're a company and now you invest in security awareness and testing and communications. What happens if just for 90 days, the company invests in this? Well, you see it almost gets cut in half, right? And so our research and our data shows that the higher the level of readiness through knowledge is, the higher the instinct is for individuals to know how to react and then report incidents. And it drops your phish-prone percentage to about half. If you guys don't have your mute button on, I'd ask that you just turn it off. Turn it on. I'm just getting a little bit of background noise. And so then for that 90 days, your employees are increasing their muscle, they're increasing their ability to detect. So let's say what happens if for a year, your company invests in security awareness and training, invests in simulated attacks, communicating frequently. It goes down to single digits, right? And so for small and medium technology would be on the lower end of single digits. And then for 1,000 employees, it goes from almost 35% down to almost 8%, which is a significant improvement. And so now you're talking about, with the elevation in understanding and awareness, you're talking about only a small percentage of your employees potentially being a victim to a phishing attack. And so across the board, 84% improvement, which is ideal. So let's talk a little bit about how the bad guys attack. I want to preface this by saying this is easy. This is not difficult. That's why they do it. That's why they continue to do it, because it's easy, right? And so what do? They do a deep search for email addresses of your organization on the internet, right? Then they find all publicly available email addresses of your employees that look and feel like the ones that they found already. Then they launch a phishing attack, right? They launch this net into this email environment that they've now created to see who, and it's actually not who, it's how many people are going to click on that. And then they have access. So what have they been up to over the past year? Well, corona-related attacks up by 6,000%. So remember I told you one single topic, however, with many different opportunities to engage, unsuspecting victims. Yeah, coronavirus is it. And then because we've moved into more of a virtual work environment, Google Calendar invites, Zoom, GoToMeeting have become more normalized. And because they've become more normalized to you to have that engagement with your colleagues, we don't pay a lot of attention to them. So if you get a Google Calendar invite from Joanna Heisman and she's one of your colleagues, you probably will just click on it without really looking at it. And cyber criminals are banking on the fact that you're going to do that. Also, trusted sender emails. How many of you have, over the course of the past couple days, gotten an email that said Joanna Heisman wants to connect with you through LinkedIn, and she sent you a message, click here. Okay, great. That's the lazy factor, right? So cyber criminals are looking for us to be lazy, and instead of going into LinkedIn and seeing whether there's a new network request in there and also a message, we're just going to click on that email without really looking at it. And so trusted sender emails, and remember, LinkedIn's been hacked already. And the thing of it is that when a company gets hacked, it usually takes about 4 to 6 months for them to figure it out. For an individual, it usually takes a couple days. And so your personal information devalues within the first 12 hours. And so by the time you figure it out, all the mischief's been done. And so, there's not much you can do on your end at that point in time. So then if we look at top 10 lists, everybody likes a good top 10 list. From a social media perspective, you're looking at LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. These social media sites, are, just, guilty with lots of criminal activity. Everything from fraudulent purchasing opportunities to links that are, certainly going to provide access to information and take over systems. I mean, social media has become one of these things that, sometimes it's worse than it is good that can come out of it. Then if we look at the top 5 spoof brands, I mean, this list is probably 20 long. This is just an abbreviated version there. But if you look at the top 10 general emails, you're going to see a lot of COVID in there, which I've explained. However, you're going to also see things that are emotionally connected to you. And what I mean by that is these cyber criminals understand that they're going to get you to click if it's something that's most meaningful to you, like a payroll deduction, right? So you get this email and you're like, what? And my payroll's being deducted? I have to look at that right away. Vacation policy. What? They're taking vacation away from me? No internet access. What? I'm not going to be able to do my work, right? And so, work from home guidelines and return to office guidelines. Lots of people are waiting for that, right? And so these things are emotional triggers for you, and there's a higher propensity of you to just click on those without really investigating. Our customers are also talking to us about what they're seeing in the wild. Again, a lot of it is related to COVID, and much of it is related to something that personally would trigger you to engage. And that's why the more simulated phishing attacks that you do with your personnel, the better their instincts are going to become. Just as an example, I at KnowBe4, I could get 5 phishing attacks, simulated ones, in a day. Now you're probably saying, isn't that too much? Isn't it distracting? Doesn't it take away from your work? Aren't you afraid to open anything? And the answer to all that is no, because the way it's positioned on the front end to all KnowBe4 employees is that we're going to continuously phish you, so you get really good at being able to identify a phishing attack and then report it to us, right? And so I right now I got 2 yesterday, right? And the 2 yesterday, because I'm so good at detecting what are the characteristics of a phishing attack, within seconds, I was able to just report these phishing attacks and go on with my day, right? And that's where you want to get with your employees. You want to get to a point where they just instinctively know how to respond. So let's talk a little bit about ransom. I want to preface this by saying this is really easy too. They infiltrate your network, they install malware, they delete your backups, they pray that you don't have backups, as many do, and they pray that your backups weren't recent. They steal your data, they hold it for ransom, they're going to leak a little bit here and there to entice you to pay, to entice you to move quickly. If you're not doing that, they're going to publicly shame your CEOs and your executive team. Since they already have all your customer information, they're probably going to threaten your customers until you pay. And this is what it looks like from a visual depiction. It's that kind of holy crap moment until you get this screen and you realize I got a couple days to respond. They want this amount of money. If I don't do it, this is going to happen. And I will tell you, most companies pay. Let's look at a couple different examples, right? And so if we look in April 2021, it was Colonial Pipeline. I am in the Northeast. It certainly affected me. There's two big gangs, right? DarkSide is one of them. Our Evil is another. You might have, been looking at the news over the course of the past couple days, where the FBI has found a leader of the Our Evil cyber criminal gang in Poland. He's been arrested, and they're looking to take action against him and find out if they're who else is connected to that gang. But at essence, it's either the small ball players or it's these big sophisticated gangs. Well, the dark side, they attacked Colonial Pipeline. They asked for a lot of money. The FBI was able to get the money back, but we weren't able to figure out who was behind it. It's so hard to do that because a lot of these cyber attacks are coming from countries where, as long as you're not attacking companies that reside within your nation state, they will protect you. And so what we found was in the past year or so that 58% of the cyber attacks that were coming into the United States were from Russia. They're coming from China and Iran, just to name a few. And those countries will protect their cyber criminals. Then you see Quanta. If you're not familiar with them, if you're an Apple customer, they're certainly a huge business partner of Apple. They asked for $50 million. As far as we know, right now, Apple has not mentioned the cyber attack. There have been no additional blueprints or documents that were leaked by them. Our Evil has, quote unquote, seemed to call off the attack, which I find suspicious, and I'm certain it's going to resurface. Then you look at Brenntag. Again, this is the Colonial Pipeline DarkSide gang. $7.5 million they asked. They stole a ton of data. They paid $4.4 million. Can't retrieve that $4.4 million and can't find any of the cyber criminals. So in the spirit of not being a victim, let's talk about how we can better protect ourselves, right? And so if we talk about creating a security culture across your business, it's very different than an organizational culture. Organizational culture is your goals and values. Security culture, the customs, ideas, behaviors that influence your security. And the thing of it is you have to make sure that it lives and breathes within your organization, and it is something that is always there, and it's something that's being practiced across every member of your organization, from C-level executives, down to the lowest level of employment within your organization, right? And so it's everyone's responsibility to be more secure. And so if we look at an example of what this looks like, from an attitude perspective, right? If everyone is living within this security-aware culture, and following secure practices, then just from a checking link perspective, everybody's going to check the link. They're always going to check the link. They're going to be cognitive that checking the link reduces phishing attacks. They're going to be listening and looking for the communication. They're going to be in compliance with all of the coursework and all of the phishing simulated attacks. They're going to make sure that they're always checking the links and that they understand that it's part of their responsibility to protect their organization from any phishing attacks. And so when you look at it as well, mobile devices are something that, are very tricky, right? Because I'm from a generation that had a rotary phone on the wall, right? And as much privacy as you had on your conversation was as far as the cord stretched from that rotary call. I got my first cell phone when I was 22, and it was a brick, and it was given to me by the company that I worked for. But mobile devices right now tend to sit right at the center of our lives. And especially for more recent generations, right? So if you talk to my teenage kids, if you take away their cell phone, it's like taking away an appendage, right? And cyber criminals understand that every device-to-device connection becomes a potential attack vector, whether it's through Wi-Fi or router-based malware or Bluetooth, right? And so on. And so these cell phones could be ticking time bombs. right? And cyber criminals, also understand that on an average, individuals have 60 to 90 apps on their phone. And, all of these apps have a lot of different kinds of information. And so because we can get our email through phone, I can get my work email through phone, I can get my personal email through phone. I'm susceptible to a phishing attack through that. I'm susceptible to phishing attacks through my cell phone. I'm susceptible to text attacks through my cell phone, and so forth. And so this is a really easy tool for cyber criminals to access your information. And its convenience for end users, can make these access controls really difficult, right? And so, I think that if you're looking at your cell phone device and you're looking at your privacy settings and you're looking at things that you can do like multi-factor authentication, right? Nothing is foolproof, but as much as you can kind of layer that protection for your employees or for your friends, family, and loved ones, the better off you're going to be. And so this is just a simple visual depiction of a cyber kill chain through mobile context, right? They weaponize your phone, they exploit it, they command and control it, and it's deemed virtually useless to you. So from a cyber criminal personal hygiene perspective, right, I can't say this enough, avoid strange links. Use passwords, unique passwords. Most passwords can be hacked, right? Because from the laziness factor, we use the same passwords across different devices. We don't change our passwords. Password managers are a great idea. I can't tell you who I use or who KnowBe4 uses, but both Gartner and Forrester, two large research companies, they both have papers, side-by-side comparison of the leaders in that industry. Only use secure Wi-Fis and make sure to make that your backups are recent and continuous. And then just the 5 principles of being a human firewall, right? Don't draw conclusions. And the example that I gave you earlier was just because you see an email from Joanna Heisman, don't make an assumption that it's really from Joanna Heisman and the links in it are good and real and valid. Keep on your guard, stay alert, slow down, right? And take time to look at what's coming into your systems and, do your diagnostics to make sure that they are not something that could victimize you. If you see something, say something, and follow policy, right? Companies don't create policies for you to circumvent them, right? They create policies because they better protect the business. And, just in kind of closing, I want to say that you as an individual, you influence security far more than any technology will ever do. And companies know that. And companies are starting to realize that the investment needs to be growing in the area of employee training and security awareness. And so from just a final thought, knowing that you are the de facto top choice for cyber criminals to gain access to your professional and personal electronic landscape, just bides you well to make sure that, your cyber hygiene is to its highest level of readiness. And so I'm going to pass it back to Jenna at this point.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Joanna and Jason. This has been a fantastic presentation. And to our audience, please, right now, don't hesitate to kind of put one thing in the chat that you really stuck out to you during this, like anything that is a comment, a question, something that you found fascinating. Please go ahead and drop that into our chat right now. We'd love to hear that. But in terms of next steps in these final seconds, so now that we've got you thinking about all things cybersecurity, I'm sure a common question is, how can we help you strengthen your own security culture at your organization? And I'm happy to tell you we have a handful of resources that you can get started with right away. We recently launched a cybersecurity podcast series, and I dropped the link to that in our chat. If you haven't listened already, we do highly encourage that and encourage you to tune in because it actually dives into a lot of the topics that Joanna touched on today. And we also have an ongoing PCA cybersecurity awareness training, and you can stay up to date with upcoming events such as this on our events page. The next training is actually next week, November 18th at 10 a.m. So we'd love to have you and your team participate in that. And lastly, you can always visit our KnowBe4 partner page on our website for free tools such as ransomware simulators. We've got infographics. We just have a ton of resources to help you stay ahead of the hackers. So for anyone that is interested in having a conversation with Jason and the PCA team, we are offering a free security assessment as a thank you for joining this webinar as well. So if that interests you, please just email info@pcatg.com or reach out to one of us directly if you're interested in assessing your security environment, and PCA will absolutely take those next steps with you. But I do want to be mindful of our time, and it looks like we're right at 11:30. So thanks again to Joanna, Jason, everyone who joined us, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.